It's a big one, man. It's a big one this weekend for the Cleveland Browns, for the Ohio State Buckeyes to a point. But when it comes to the Cleveland Browns and years past, big games that we have set up for, big games that we've been excited about, we've had a playoff run. Yeah, a lot of times we're trying to get to a position in the playoff standings. But a lot of times, unfortunately, when it comes to big games for the Cleveland Browns, we need to win this game to keep it on the rails. We need to keep this going in between the ditches. And I feel like this game has that vibe to it. The Titans coming to town. There's so many things that happened to this team this past week. And this is a big game, not because it's you win and go to the Super Bowl, not because you win the AFC North with the win this weekend. It's to kind of calm everybody down. It's to get things back on track. Unfortunately, we've had more of those games than not over the last couple of years. But nonetheless, it is still a massive game against a team that you cannot sleep on. And we're going to get you ready to go for a giant week of football right here on the Matt Fontana Show. Welcome on in, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Happy to be with you this morning here on Big Play. Of course, streaming on the iHeart app under live radio, or you just search Big Play. We'll pop up right there from 9 to 11 this morning. And as always, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We're all there. We are locked and loaded on a Friday, a Football Friday edition of the show. Coming up, we have a brand new segment. We have the report cards. We will be doing this every Friday going into the Browns matchup. We will run through everything against the Browns and their opponent. We'll tell you, who do we got, Stefanski or Vrabel? Some interesting things on the defensive side of things for the Titans, which should lend well for Deshaun Watson. We'll get to that coming up. 9:30, super excited to have Jack Duffin on. Jack writes for OBR. He's their capologist. Talk a little about the Kareem Hunt signing. Talk about where the Browns are at. I want to maybe ask him if there would be money in the bank right now to potentially go after Jonathan Taylor trade if they wanted to. And if we needed to get out of that Deshaun Watson deal, how can we do that? Jack comes up at 9:30. We'll hear from Deshaun Watson. He spoke on the social media thing, Ryan, and gave the non-answer that he almost made it sound like he's not on social media yet. There was a block spree from him the other day.
It's a facade.
A facade, if you will. So we'll get to that coming up. Our pick segment, Sonny Gupta of Tipico is going to join us. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Dicey. At best, I think, on that 3.5-point favorite there. So I have Sonny on from Tipico. We got timeout. We got our picks. We got it all jam-packed on a Friday edition. We thank you for joining us this morning for a little bit of your time right here on Big Play. This game's got that feel. And it's been that way of the past, where the big games the Browns have played in sometimes are to save jobs or to just, again, keep it on the track. Like this game for the Browns on Sunday is that teeter, where if you don't play well and you lose, then we're going to be doing this show Monday with a lot of questions that I frankly don't want to answer and a lot of things I kind of don't want to think about, right? The other side of it is this is a good football team. Like, I think this is that opportunity right now for the Browns. The Titans are a scrappy, good team in some areas, yet there are some other areas that we really should be able to take advantage of them on. So if you win, you feel good about that. That's not something where, oh man, you kick the crap out of like the 32nd best team in the NFL. And I understand that it's any given Sunday, great flick. It's every team is a professional. You step up and you play. But the Titans have a little something that if you win, you're going to feel good. And it's not even so much, Ryan, about me or about you or about any of the fans. I think this locker room needs something. This locker room needs a little jolt. You know, we'll hear from Watson later, but he and Joel Bitonio both kind of made mention about the little bit of shock that was had when you lose Nick Chubb. And Watson even mentioned, like, we had to break in a new right tackle with DeJuan Jones. And granted, he played very well. But Bitonio had a line about, okay, Jack goes down, Nick goes down. He said it's a little bit of a grieving process. And especially with Chubb, the heart of your team, the soul of your team, your best player, and a catastrophic injury like it was, that takes you a second to kind of come back. And, Bitonio kind of mentioned maybe that we put a little too much pressure on ourselves, or maybe that was something that you really couldn't overcome in that game. I don't know if 5 days are enough to turn the page. It should be. It needs to be in the NFL because you're always looking for the next game. But that's something where to get back out on the field, I'm sure a little bit more normalcy for the guys. To see Nick Chubb this week, which sounded like he was in the best spirits he could be, which is awesome. I'm sure that helped a little bit. But now I look at the grand scheme of this season and where you want to go and what you want to do. We asked people yesterday if they still felt like the Browns are going to make the playoffs. It was slight, but people said yes. They still felt like they were going to do it. Then you have to win this game on Sunday. You can't let too many of these games start slipping away. And the best part is if you get that win, it's going to feel good. It's going to feel like a deserving win. But it's also a team that's not going to come in here and lay over like the Titans. Big upset. Check the picks. Did not see the Titans beating the Chargers last week, but they did. And they're riding high. When we get to our report card, which we're going to do coming up about 10 minutes, the Vrabel aspect, he's somebody that I have a lot of respect for, and I think he's very good. And I got a take about what he's brought to the Titans, and maybe something Kevin Stefanski needs to bring to the Browns. But anyway, so this is a team that when they come in here, you know you're getting their best shot, and they really believe that they can stay in this thing, talking about the Titans. When you match it up roster-wise, yeah, the Browns should have the edge, and they're at home, and there's just so much more on the line for the Cleveland Browns. But the problem is, Ryan, that there were pressure on Monday Night Football when you lose your best player, and they couldn't step up to that. Now I'm asking them to do it again with even more pressure this weekend. That's a tough thing to do. That's not easy to do. And that's why I think this is going to tell a lot about where this team is at mentally, schematically. If people want to get into the X's and O's of it, there were some things I liked. There were some things that I felt like were working for the Browns. But, Ryan, we know this weekend is all about one thing, and that's Deshaun Watson. You need to get a win, yes, but the best-case scenario is you get a win that Deshaun Watson played very well in.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pressure that we had on the Steelers game. And obviously we're at home, so that relaxes a little bit, but the pressure is amounting just the same in this game.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because shout out to Bo Bishop, host of Cleveland Browns Daily. And Bo always had a line about Ohio State, and that's different because that's the shoe. That's down in Columbus. It's college. It's different. But he has made the point that sometimes playing at home can even be more pressure than playing on the road because you're out there in front of your fans. And I love you, Browns fans. I'm one of you. We're pretty quick on the trigger for the boos. You know, and if it goes bad and you go 3 and out on your opening drive, those boos are going to come flowing down from the rafters there at First Energy. Sorry, Cleveland Browns Stadium. My bad. Whoops. Sorry. Dump that. Oh, wait, we don't have a dump here. The boos are going to start coming down, and that can sometimes be suffocating. Again, you're a professional, and the flip side is that you get on a roll, you get some momentum going, you're at home. Yes, that is a part of it as well. But it is all laid out in front of the Browns to get it done, to find a way to get this win. So we're going to post this on Twitter, at Matt Fontana Show. You can, of course, watch the stream right there on your social media platform there. Do you feel like this is a must-win game for the Cleveland Browns? Yes or no? Is this a must-win game for the season? It's the third game of the year. I mean, if you just want to look at it from that standpoint, can you really have a must-win game in week 3? I'll listen to that. And then the other side is all we've been talking about. Yeah, you just need to right the ship. And it comes back as well. If you play a great game and they get a walk-off field goal somehow, God, I hope not, but if they somehow, you play well, it's a close game, and you somehow fall in a fluky way, can you still try to grab positives out of it? I don't think so. I really don't. And I'll cast the first vote this morning. This is a must-win. This is absolutely a must-win. And this is something more about the turning of the ship. We're on this, again, this teeter, right? And it's a little Browns fan, a little scarred history of, Ryan, I've seen these games before. And you don't necessarily know it in time. Sometimes you do. But a lot of times it's after the season where you look back on it and you go, yeah, that's where it turned. Last year was a Jets game. Now, as bad as that was and that historic way to choke that game away, after the game, a lot of people felt like, yeah, that was a turning point. But you look back on it and you go, that's where it all came unraveled. And a lot of times early in the season, it is just weathering that storm. With how preseason is approached now, with how teams approach things, sometimes the first couple games really are preseason, but they still count, right? And you just want to keep yourself afloat until you become who you are. No team really knows today who they are by October, November, you start to get an idea. And then the best teams are the ones that are playing their best football in December and January to go towards a championship because they have figured out who they are and their identity. So everybody's still figuring it out. But this is one of those ones that I don't know, and this is maybe wrong of me, right? I don't know if this team can handle a loss on Sunday. That's probably my biggest thing is I don't know if this Browns team can handle this loss on Sunday if it were to go that way.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at it that way, you lose against the Titans, then you have the Ravens, and if you just lose to the Steelers and the Titans, I have no confidence then that they're going to go and compete and beat the Ravens.
Right.
And then that fact, you take your bye week, and then you go play the best team in football.
Right, 49. Woo! Tipico. Under. I was sweating it just a little bit. I was happy Debo got that touchdown, but didn't need it there. But we kind of got it done. But hit last night on a couple of things. We had the anytime touchdown score from McCaffrey. You throw that in with the... I got a boost on Tipico of moneyline 49ers and a McCaffrey touchdown. Got that. We, of course, hit the under. So feeling good on our bets heading into our picks later today with Tipico. Big Play 150 is your code. Get signed up today. Get some free bonus bets for the weekend. Check out all the terms and conditions on Tipico with Big Play 150 as your code. Yeah, and then you talk about, rallying the troops to try to get to Baltimore, and then the problem with the bye week is what do? You sit around and you start festering, you start thinking, then that really can start to set in. That's why I think Sunday is a must-win, let alone the schedule on the way out, but just how this team feels. Like, it's not even just one thing. It's, yes, the Nick Chubb injury is a big part of it. It's the Watson stuff with him not playing well. The social media thing I don't really care about. I mean, it is what it is, but some people want to read into that as a sign of negativity. Okay, fine. And then it's also the first glimpse, which I don't want to read too much into this, but I'm sorry, I'm going to. What does this offense look like with Nick Chubb? Because all week the Browns have tried to kind of downplay that, to say, he's a part of our offense, but we can't change everything for one guy. Now, your quarterback goes down, you're changing everything, but that got back to the debate of, is this as big as losing a quarterback, is losing Nick Chubb? And I get Stefanski and his level-headedness, and he doesn't want to set off any fire alarms or anything. Who's saying, we'll figure it out. We'll get the offense. But you know that this now mounts even more on Watson. So if your two main issues, they are correlated. With losing Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson not playing well, you have now heaped even more onto Deshaun Watson's plate to say we have to go out there and get a win at home. And again, what I'm calling a must-win game. Ryan Tyler, cast your vote, please, this morning. Do you believe Sunday is a must-win game for the Browns?
Yeah, and it sucks to say that this early because obviously, like you mentioned earlier, when you look at it, no, technically you can't have a must-win game this early, but it really does feel that way because the aforementioned thing, just going into Baltimore 1-2 would not be fun, and then having to sit on that. Or I'm sorry, go
to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Oh no, that game's home. That game's here.
And then go into the bye week and just I don't want to do that. I want to go in there with momentum because I am worried about that San Francisco game if we don't get something figured out. I
mean, you mentioned it there, and I think it's also like a win is important in the stat column. I'm more actually worried about that momentum. I'm actually more worried of like a win-loss versus the mental side of this team. I'm actually more worried about the mental side of this team getting away from you. Because once that's gone, once you've lost that is not easy to get back. And it takes time. And I don't know, maybe that's a good thing for the bye. When the schedule came out and everybody, what's the first thing you look at? Where are our road games and when's the bye? What road trips are we going on? All that kind of stuff. And everybody hates the early bye. Coaches hate it. I think even the fans to a point hate it. But this might be something where, okay, there might be your bailout. Now you got to get there, and that's 2 weeks away. But maybe that's your reset button. I don't know. We need a win Sunday against the Titans. So our Twitter question is at Matt Fontana Show. We're asking everybody, do you believe that Sunday is a must-win game for the Browns? Is Sunday a must-win game? The Browns have got to somehow find a way to pull this out. We'll send that out at Matt Fontana Show. Hit the retweet right now. At Matt Fontana 83, because I think it's yes. I think without a doubt it is yes. 100% on the early votes there, by the way, is yes. So we'll get to that coming up. We have a brand new segment, Ryan. Let's debut it right now. We are going to do the Friday report card. So we're going to start doing this every Friday as we get ready for the Browns matchup on Sunday, and we'll take a look at their opponent that is coming in and, frankly, how the Browns match up. So let's get right to it the Friday report card right here on the Matt Fontana Show on Big Play. So the Titans are coming in. They are in a 1-1 record. Ryan Tannehill, who I don't know how he's good, and maybe he's not, Ryan. I don't know. 1-1. You see that TD to interception ratio. 1-3 is not very good. And you mentioned this before the show started. What are these guys, 29-30 in the NFL when it comes to QBR?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's either 29. Yeah, actually, I think it's 29-30 because I know below them is Pickett, who is
like
an 18.8. So they are bottom tier right now.
One of those guys is paid like he shouldn't be. The other one I kind of maybe expect. And we talk about Deshaun Watson. The stat that jumps out is the bottom one right there, 55% completion percentage. And we'll hear from Watson a little bit later. He was asked a lot about it. And he tried to make we're still trying to figure things out. And I hate that answer. I hate it because we're here. We're a couple games in. The Ruts thing can't be a factor anymore. We're in a new offense can't be a factor anymore. And I'm not here to place blame either on Stefanski or on Watson for that. I don't know. I don't really care. But, Ryan, that is a very concerning stat for me, is his completion percentage being down there at just 55%.
Yeah, and again, that's bottom tier. So, just like the QBR, it's got to come up. Got to come up.
In this matchup, it's what it should be. Deshaun Watson should be the better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. He should be. Is that really Ryan Tannehill? That looks nothing like him.
Yeah, that is him. Yeah, it does.
I guess maybe the little, he got the little, goatee thing going on there.
Yeah.
Did he lose weight or something? I don't know. That looks nothing like Ryan Tannehill.
Yes, it does. Maybe you don't remember what Ryan Tannehill looks like.
Not that I look at him often. I guess
doesn't have a memorable face.
I guess that is Ryan Tannehill. Wow. That's not at all. Seriously, did he lose weight? He looks thinner. I don't know. That just doesn't look like Ryan Tannehill to me. I don't know. Well, congratulations to Ryan Tannehill on losing the weight. I'm assuming he just looks way different. But yeah, your matchup here should easily go towards the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson, but he's got to play that well. To the rest of the team, to another part of the sidelines, we go now on the Friday report card between the Browns and the Titans. We're going to break down each position. And Ryan, we start with the head coaches, and we start with Mike Vrabel and Kevin Stefanski. So when I think about Vrabel, Coach of the Year, he actually won it the year after Kevin Stefanski did. So you have two coaches of the year going at it. Kevin Stefanski won in 2020. Mike Vrabel won it in 2021 when the Titans went 12-5. The thing about Vrabel that I've looked at, and I've kind of, I think there's a big conversation about where he'll be coaching next year, but we'll get to that in a second. Vrabel is a culture guy. And I think when you go try to hire a coach, and when you sit there and you try to understand there's these firms that are out there that try to help these teams hire a coach, and a lot of times just you go find a good team and you poach their coordinators. Mike Vrabel is a culture guy. And I'm not saying that he's not good at X's and O's and he knows what he's doing with his defense, but he and Dan Campbell, and maybe even Robert Saleh comes to mind a little bit, they were hired as culture guys. Kevin Stefanski, I think, was hired as an X's and O's guy. Nick Sirianni, X's and O's guy. And you've seen success with both, but that's where I see what Vrabel has done and know that maybe the culture travels a little bit further than the X's and O's. Maybe setting that culture, and he comes in like Campbell, like a hard ass, and they're true football guys, and they're former players, and that's an element that you can't just find anywhere. Those guys both played in the NFL, Vrabel at a higher level than Campbell, but have been around the game from a player standpoint. Then you have these other coaches that played, but they really got into coaching early, and they come strictly from the coach's standpoint, right? And it's not revisionist history. I'm very happy that Kevin Stefanski is here, but that's, Ryan, you could look at Mike Vrabel and say that that's a guy that really has overachieved for what he has been given down there in Tennessee, which is just impressive from a standpoint of, he is 48-34 in his career and took them to 3 straight playoff appearances from 19, 20, and 21 and got to that AFC Championship game in 2019. They lost to the Chiefs in that one. And then I remember that Ravens AFC wildcard game. Remember that game? Yeah,
I do remember that.
Yeah, that was back in 2020 in the COVID year. Yeah, I mean, that's... And that kind of gives me, again, the same thing for this weekend. This is kind of the same Titans team that we have seen year after year, but it's almost like Vrabel that sends them off to another standpoint.
I'm telling you, and this goes back to, like you said earlier, you mentioned the word culture. There's just simply teams in football that no matter how not great their rosters are, they find a way to stay in the competition and go rattle off 7-8 wins with basically nothing. And we have one of the best rosters on paper, and our organization has constantly not been able to get it done.
I think it's a big question on Vrabel where he's going to be coaching next year. If you really think that there's going to be a shakeup in the college ranks, whether Harbaugh, and he ain't going to Michigan, I'm not saying that. Saturday could be a big day for Ryan Day, which we'll talk about the Buckeyes coming up a little bit later with Notre Dame. But, that could be a big one on if Ohio State came calling, would Mike Vrabel pick the phone up? Would that be something that he would be interested to get out? Has he done what he thinks he can do? And I think now those waters are about as muddied as they can get going between the college and the pros. And you've had good relations, you've had good experiences, you've had bad experiences. But I think guys can just flip back and forth when they want, chase the money. And maybe Vrabel, I would assume he probably likes pros more than college. College is just such a grind, the recruiting part of it. It seems like you get burned out quicker in college than you do in the pros. But I would think he's staying there, but also, if there are big openings in the NFL to the Titans, is he really done all he can do with the Titans? Remember when they fired John Schneider and everybody's freaking out about that with the Titans and what was going on with that? They had a down year last year. I think if I was betting right now with Tipico, I don't think Mike Vrabel's coaching the Titans next year. I don't know where he'll be, but I don't think he's going to be in Tennessee.
Hot take.
And I just think they might have a rough year this year. It's always rough when you try to tackle Derrick Henry because he is one of the best. He is an elite running back. He does it different than anybody else. And it's always kind of been the thing with the Titans where they have to, it's basically been him, right? You give him the football, you turn, you give it to him, it's fine. But it's a little interesting, Ryan, that this point of the season, which is 2 games, I know it's early in the season, 3.6 yard per average, only has 1 touchdown in 2 games.
Yeah. I mean, just for instance, another fantastic running back in the NFL, Josh Jacobs. Right now, I believe he's averaging 1.9 yards per carry.
Yeah, and the Raiders' offense is not. Yep. Jacobs wants the hell out of there. And then there was some scuttlebutt this offseason about could the Titans be trading away Derrick Henry? Could they be moving on from him? So maybe that's impacting it, but I also think they're kind of understanding what this offense or what the NFL and the offense is. They got to throw the football. If Nick Chubb was in there, I'm giving the edge to the Browns, but he's not. Yeah. This is very clearly an edge for Derrick Henry. And I think with the Browns rushing defense, which we'll get to defenses coming up in a minute, they are elite at stopping the run. God, it feels so good to say that. They are elite at stopping the run right now. The difference is that it's Derrick Henry. And I've seen grown-ass men try to tackle him, and you can't just get off. He's hard to take down. And this screams of a game that if the Titans come in here, ball control, you try to just eke it out. Because right now, Henry is averaging 20 carries per game. So they are going to feed him the football. And it's kind of best on best. When you talk about the matchups in this, best on best is the Browns' defensive line. The Browns' rush defense is one of their best. They are top 5 in the NFL. I believe actually tied for 3rd in the NFL when it comes to rushing yards allowed. Let me see. Let me pull that up here. Sorry, they are, after last night, San Francisco.
Of course.
What did Matt Breida run for? 11 yards last night? So sorry, the 49ers have bumped the Browns down 1. So the Browns are tied for 4th. They give up 65 yards per game. That was an ass kicking last night, but nonetheless. So the Browns are elite, and then you turn it over to a guy like Derrick Henry, which again, right now he's 9th in the NFL in rushing yards. That's tough because McCaffrey does have an extra game, and he's just an animal right now. But you can't sleep on that. He is averaging 71 yards per game. So I will lean for Derrick Henry on that. We get to the wide receiving core. And this one is interesting to me, Ryan, because DeAndre Hopkins, one of the biggest offseason signings across the NFL. There were people with the Browns, fans with the Browns, that wanted DeAndre Hopkins to come here. Now, his start down there in Tennessee has not been what you expected, mostly because Ryan Tannehill has been struggling. But I was getting ready to do this, and I was kind of looking up some things with DeAndre Hopkins. Do you know in the past decade, he has more first down catches than anyone in the NFL? He has 600 first down receptions over a decade. Here's your trivia question of the day. There are 2 players tied for second with 550 first down receptions. They move the chains.
Over the last 10 years?
10 years.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, but I don't know, like, because it hasn't played in the last 3. I was going to say Antonio Brown.
No.
Okay.
Good guess, though.
Keenan Allen?
No, good guess.
Oh, man.
Another big-bodied wide receiver, though,
Okay.
is one of them.
Mike Evans?
No, good guess. Guy also played a long time in the AFC South against Mike Evans. And ironically, also a former Tennessee Titan.
Interesting.
Oh, come on. I know you got it.
Last 10 years. AFC South. Okay, so that's Jacksonville. That's...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. NFC South. NFC South.
NFC South.
Sorry, that
okay.
threw you off.
So
Julio Jones.
Oh, okay.
And Travis Kelce.
I believe
Kelce
it.
moves the sticks. So
I
that's
believe
your
it.
stat for the morning, that nobody over the past decade has had more first down receptions than DeAndre Hopkins. Second is Travis Kelce and Julio Jones. He's good. He's not elite. Amari Cooper, I think, has started to get some things figured out. Browns clearly have the wide receiving edge. Browns offensive line, the only way, when we do this Friday report card every Friday, I think there are only one team that you could maybe debate, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. You want to maybe talk about the 49ers, sure, maybe. But really, the offensive line will be the best, and it's going to be the best, certainly this Sunday, against the Titans. Then we get to the defense, and we gave the edge to the Browns. And when you look at the rushing yardage for the year, I mentioned the Browns are tied for 4th with 65 yards per game given up on the ground. So are the Tennessee Titans. They are right there with the Browns stopping the run. But the reason is that people don't really run that much against them because they can throw all the livelong day. Through 2 games, the Titans are the 5th worst passing defense in the NFL, 281 yards per game. In a game where you need Deshaun Watson to throw the football and you are void of Nick Chubb, you are facing the 5th worst passing defense in the NFL. Throw the ball. Throw the football. And I hope that there's a level that we get to with the Browns that it's the same thing as the offensive line. That the majority of teams that we face, it's not even a question that our defense is better. They are playing to an elite top 3 level right now. Titans are not. Again, running defense, sure, fine, but their passing defense is not good, and the Browns should be able to take advantage of that come Sunday. I'm really excited about this. We'll take a break when we return. Jack Duffin is going to join us, and Jack has really ascended. I love following his stuff. You can follow him on Twitter, at Jack Duffin. He is their salary cap and roster builder at the OBR. And you have any questions on the salary cap, you go check out Jack on Twitter. He's had some great articles about it. And an article I read very much this week, if the Browns needed to get out of this Watson deal, how do they do it? Jack's going to join us next. Matt Fontana Show right here on Big Play, streaming on YouTube. We're up on Twitter, Facebook as well, and, of course, streaming on the iHeart app. Jack joins us next. All right, back here on the Matt Fontana Show, Big Play Football Friday edition, getting ready for Sunday, Browns, Titans, but a lot of questions been had this week about where Deshaun Watson is, how he's been playing, and I'm super happy to bring in Jack Duffin, OBR. You can follow him on Twitter at Jack Duffin. He does their salary cap and roster building. Jack, we really appreciate you joining us this morning here on the show, and I do start with, I just want to clear the air here in the fact that you are not Andrew Berry, correct? You're not Andrew Berry's burner. You just happen to be really good at doing cap stuff, right?
He's muted.
Oh, sorry, Jack. Oh, you're good. That's fine.
You'll call out.
What he had to do was run Andrew Berry out of the room real quick, and then you came in as the side, right?
Just put him on mute. I didn't want to.
You're not Andrew Berry, right, Jack? You're just really good at what you do.
It basically all started around free agency this year. I produced a list of about 50 guys and said, hey, here's the guys I think the Browns will go after. And pretty much everyone they signed was on that list. So it got a bit out of hand.
There you go. Well, you're very good at what you do. I really appreciate your work. I enjoy watching it and following there at the OBR. And let's just talk, Jack, before we get into specifics, about where the Browns salary cap is at. Because you just, as you do often, you update their current space. After the Kareem Hunt signing, where are the Browns at when it comes to their salary cap? They're obviously in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, so still waiting for the final numbers on the Kareem Hunt. We've heard up to $4 million. Probably means it's nearer like 2.5 because the agents pump out the really big number and then we get the real number after a few days later. So we'll see that when it comes up. But they've got $35 million of cap space for this season. But they're in a really nice spot. They're continuing to outspend the rest of the NFL by about $50 million a year, just Browns versus the league average. So really, really strong position moving forward. And Andrew Berry is doing great work, but a lot of the praise belongs with Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam is the one going, hey, have $50 million more than basically everyone else as a league average. That Andrew Berry's not creating that magic. Jimmy Haslam is giving him the money to do it.
And explain that to everybody, Jack. I think most people know, but the Haslams are writing a lot of checks up front. You got to have an owner that has liquid cash that's able to do this, and the Browns can't run away from this money. People have this misnomer that when you restructure, that money just goes away. Tell everybody the Browns are kind of kicking this can down the road a little bit.
Yeah, so they're spreading it out in a really sustainable way because what you might spend $10 million this year, and you've got a salary cap of what are we at the moment? 224.8 million. But if you start spreading that out over a few years, the projected salary cap in 2026 is 308 million. So it's one where effectively what the Browns are doing, they're spending the salary cap in 2 years' time. And so as long as it keeps going up, there's nothing stopping them doing what they're doing. But they're spending 2 years ahead's budget, and it just takes an owner willing to go, hey, the money hasn't come in from the league yet, and we haven't got all this money from TV rights, but I'm going to give you this in advance because I know the salary cap's going up. And it's taking Jimmy Haslam going, I'm bought into this team, I'm giving you all this cash to allow them to do it.
Jack Duffin joining us from the OBR. Follow him if you aren't already as a Browns fan. He's a must-follow there at Jack Duffin, doing the cap work and the roster building for the OBR. Jack, your article this week, if they needed to get out of the Watson deal. And I know that this deal sent shockwaves through the NFL for the fully guaranteed money, but with any deal, there's always some way, and you're going to have to pay penalties if you need to get out of it. Tell everybody about your article this week about, let's say that the decision is made that the Browns have to get out of this Watson deal. How and when and how much money would it actually have to cost them if they really needed to get rid of Deshaun Watson's deal?
Yeah, people asked for it at the end of last year, and I was like, no, I'm not even willing to write this after 6 games. Right? I just turned it straight down, and it was rough, that Steelers game. So I finally buckled to the pressure and said, hey, this is the article I never want to write, but here we are. And effectively, there is no way to get him off this roster until the end of the 2025 season. Once year 4's done, that's when they can move on. And it's one that if they want to do something else, there is nothing stopping them. If they decide after the next 2 years, hey, DTR gives us a better chance to win, and you only have to look at Wentz versus Hurts. There was people that said they shouldn't have drafted Hurts. There were people that said you can't move off of Wentz. You've just paid him all this money. And what his team is most like the Cleveland Browns it's the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's not impossible to go this route. If they decide a couple of years down the road, they could even leave him as sort of the world's most expensive backup QB for. It will take decades before that record to ever gets beaten, but they could put him there and they could start DTR. They're spending $50 million a year more than everyone else. So the $46 million it's going to cost them for Watson isn't going to destroy their roster. Andrew Berry's built a great roster. So it's not impossible, but he's here until 2025. It wouldn't surprise me if we see them restructure him, because if they want to get rid of him, it makes sense to just keep spreading out those cap hits, and we'll deal with it down the line when the salary cap's 300 and something million rather than when it's 225. So plenty of restructures probably still to come. And if they turn to DTR and DTR starts winning games, I don't think anyone's going to care that they've got a super expensive backup. But fingers crossed, hopefully he turns it around. But they're not. People are saying they're screwed. They're screwed if DTR sucks as well. Mm-hmm. But there is a piece of space in between. He only has to be top 16. If he's top 16, Deshaun Watson, they're able to compete, make the playoffs. If he's top 8, they can match everyone, maybe with the exception of Patrick Mahomes. Because money and anything can't beat Patrick Mahomes.
Well, and speaking of Mahomes and just all the deal that he got redone and all the other quarterback deals that have been done, Jack, it was always people said, okay, the Browns are ahead of the curve. Now, the fully guaranteed is what I think tripped a lot of people up. But we see the Burrow deals, we see the Herbert deal, Lamar's deal, and where it eventually will go. We know the salary cap is going up to pay who? Quarterbacks, not D linemen, not running backs. It's going up because of the quarterbacks. So do you believe that the Browns were just ahead of the curve when they handed out Watson's deal, or do you think that fully guaranteed deal was something that remarkable?
So if we look at sort of the free agent quarterbacks, and Deshaun Watson was basically a free agent. There was multiple teams bidding. They'd all reached the price of, hey, once we get 3 first-rounders, whoever he wants to go to, that's his choice. Kirk Cousins, Tom Brady. There was precedent for whoever gets to free agency as a quarterback, you get a fully guaranteed deal. And we've seen with the Burrow deal, he's got the first 3 of his 5 new years are fully guaranteed. So the next 5 years of Joe Burrow's contract are fully guaranteed. So it's not one where 5 years fully guaranteed is anything shocking. It's one that if he would have just signed an extension with the Browns, he'd have got 3 guaranteed years anyway. So it's year 4 and year 5 that the Browns are guaranteed. At the end of the day, the last above average QB to get cut from his deal was Peyton Manning. QBs just don't get cut.
Right.
Jared Goff wasn't a top 16 QB when he signed his deal, but he still can't get cut because there is such a shortage of QBs. So if he can get back to league average, he was never getting cut anyway. And that's just because there's not enough good QBs to go around.
You mentioned it, so I got to ask you, could there be a world that if they tried to restructure enough and get that dollar amount down that they could trade him and then have to attach a pick to it like the Rams had to do? I know the Browns are down on picks too because of the deal, but is that something that could potentially play out if needed?
It'd be really tough because that future guarantees land straight on your salary cap. It's not one way you can really cut and spread it out. So they'll probably be better just paying him. And even if they want to make him inactive and say to him, look, you're going to be a game day inactive for year 4 and 5. Year 4, we don't even want to see you in the facility if you don't want to come in. We're not going to penalize you for that. Or you can just come into the facility and train on your own. That's unfortunately the position where they could be in, where he's not going to want to just go, I'll tear up my contract. I don't want the last 100 million you're going to pay me.
Just, hey, I'm good on the 100 mil. Yeah, just keep that. Don't worry about that.
So it's one that it could get to a really nasty situation. But hey, if there is still plenty of time for him to turn it around.
That's the hope, Jack, right? We all hope he plays well, that this is just a slow start to the season and turns around and earns every penny of it. Jack Duffin joining us from OBR Capologist and Roster Breakdown. So some of the other guys on the roster, Jack, when we look at Conklin's injury, we know non-guaranteed money for Nick Chubb. There are people that think with Wyatt Teller watching his contract, we know they picked up the 5th-year option on Jed Wills. Just following the money for the future, who are some guys that you are seeing that the Browns could potentially move on either after this season or in the near future?
Yeah, the most likely name is Wyatt Teller for me, because if we look at the offensive line, we've got guaranteed deals in 2024 for Conklin, for Wills, and for Pocic. I think they'll probably keep Bitonio around, and that's one that once a player gets that age, you never know how long they're going to play. Bitonio could play for another 5 years. You can get an injury and it all goes wrong. So Bitonio's here for as long as Batonio wants to be here and can continue producing, which makes Wyatt Teller the odd man out. There was rumours that they tried to trade him last offseason, right back at the around the start of free agency. So they were certainly sounding out. He had guaranteed money there, so it always had to be a trade rather than a cut, whereas there's no guarantees next offseason. So he seems like the most likely to be gone. Grant Delpit is a free agent this offseason.
I was going to bring him up, yeah. Mm-hmm.
People aren't going to like this. I struggle to see him being in Cleveland.
No.
And it's not because he's playing well. He's playing phenomenal, the best football he's ever played. Looking at the budgets and the way they set the team, it's looking like a decision between Newsom and Delpit for where they want to put that money. And I think it's one where they pick up the fifth-year option and extend Newsom. The fact is, as soon as they brought in Thornhill, 2 years guaranteed, they're already paying Ward. He's got guarantees through 2025. If you then add Newsom to that group, it's hard to then pay Delpit as well. And if Delpit, goes the route that Taki got injured, because Taki wouldn't have been here if he wouldn't have got injured, because his price would have been higher than the Browns would have probably paid. And it's one that, if he balls out and he's going to get 10 million plus a year, it's unfortunately not going to be in Cleveland. And I never say never. I'm just saying it's unlikely, because they could do something where they go, we won't extend Zadarius Smith again. We'll move Okoronkwo up to edge 2 and we'll move that money from the D line to safety. But part of me goes, hey, if Zadarius Smith's really good, that has been so much fun, and it's only 2 games.
It's funny. I was just looking up safety contracts. I wanted to ask you about Delpit because I feel like, Jack, he's making himself money every weekend he plays because he's just out there. He's gaining contracts, whether it's here or elsewhere. And if you want to, and I'm assuming he's going to ask for top 10 money, and that's about $15-16 million a year for a safety, and that's a lot of money. I think Delpit will be worth it, but like you said, with Thornhill there, with Newsom, and then eventually they do maybe have to pay MJ Emerson, who's playing to a level that is going to be worth much more than a 4th-round draft pick of where he was at too.
Yeah, and it's one that been a weird career up for Delpit. We didn't see him the first year, and then the next 2 years, I would say it's similar to Jed Wills. And people will be shocked when I say that, but there's moments where Grant Delpit and Jed Wills over the last 2 years were great, and then there was moments where you just look at them and go, why did he just do that? And then this season, he's pretty much beyond Myles Garrett. He can make an argument and go, he's been the second best defensive player on the team so far. I think it's probably a battle between him and Zadarius Smith, but that is a massive step forward. And if he continues it across the year, he's earned that 15 million plus. It's just, can the Browns realistically give it to him and pay Newsom? And MJ Emerson, there's another 2 years, so he's got to play this year and next year because you have to complete 3 years before you can get around the table and do a deal. But that could be one where they're getting towards the end of Denzel Ward's guarantees, and then they make a decision between Denzel Ward and Emerson. And it's much nicer to be in a position the Browns are now, where they have too many amazing players, they can't pay them all, than we take it back a few years where they didn't have any amazing players and they were paying average players crazy money.
And guys were at the end of their career coming here to steal money like they've been doing for decades and getting fat contracts to sit around and do nothing. Final position I wanted to ask you about, Jack, was the wide receiver. So Amari Cooper, through 2 games playing to a high level. We know Elijah Moore is here still on his rookie deal. What do you make of that position room? And probably more specifically, do you think there's a world that they move on from Amari Cooper eventually?
This, for me, is going to be the most fascinating position room this offseason to follow for the Browns, because you've got Amari Cooper's got 1 year left on $20 million, and there's no guarantees. That's in 2024. He's got this year and then next year. Elijah Moore can get extended, but has the final rookie year in 2024. DPJ is a free agent.
Yeah, DPJ for
They've probably got around $30 million a year of budget between those 3 spots. I would say that's just looking at how they've operated in the past and projecting forward. So it's one that, in theory, they could run it back. DPJ could take $10 million a year. You keep Cooper and you keep Elijah Moore, but you don't extend him. I don't expect that's the way they go, but all the options on the table. It could be one where they go, do we want to keep Amari Cooper, and maybe Amari Cooper moves on, but then Mike Evans could easily be on the free agent market and they could look at a name like him. I expect T. Higgins to be a tag and trade candidate. I don't expect him to get to free agency. I know lots of people have said, what about T. Higgins? I don't see it, but there is several different routes. We've seen the Eagles have traded for people in the past and extended them. It could be one where we look for the next Amari Cooper, where we can go and trade for a 4th, 5th round pick for a player and bring them in just because they've got a big contract. And then you're not getting into the bidding game and war of free agency. But it wouldn't shock me if we've got Elijah Moore's the only one of the top 3 wide receivers still here. And it wouldn't shock me if all 3 are still here. So it's purely any direction. But I'd say 30 million's the right sort of budget to look around. And Elijah Moore's like 1.5 mil next year. So a tiny proportion of that.
Jack, we really appreciate your time. Follow him on Twitter at Jack Duffin, OBR, capologist, does all the roster breakdown. Jack, I'll ask you our question this morning. Is Sunday a must-win for the Browns, taking on the Titans? They're not some rollover team. They're good, but with everything that's going on, I feel like we're just like on this teeter right now of trying to keep this season on the tracks. Do you think Sunday's a must-win?
I think it's a must-win for the locker room more than the playoff chances. I think they could lose and still have a good season, but I think if you have another game where the offense is conceding more points than the defense, that is going to be a disaster behind the scenes to keep that together, because there's going to be defensive players going, the offense is costing us, and that would not be a good place to go. So I think they can survive, but I think they'll be all right. Fingers crossed.
I hope
even
so.
If Deshaun Watson just throw checkdowns for the next 2 weeks, no air yards over 10 yards, and we would still comfortably win the next 2 games. And then we can deal with everything at the bye week and push forward.
Jack, really appreciate it. Follow him on Twitter at Jack Duffin, and we'll get you on again real soon, all right?
100%. Thanks for having me.
Great stuff there. Again, like Jack said, it's perfect to say. We don't want to have that conversation about the Watson deal, but that's what you got to do. And as prepared as Andrew Berry is, those are things you got to think about. But the best case scenario for the Browns is certainly for him to play well. And I agree with Jack, what he had to say there. Just check it down and get us the win. Let's hear from Deshaun Watson when we return. He spoke yesterday, spoke on some of the issues that the offense is facing. And oh, yeah, he was asked about the block spree that he went on allegedly on social media. Maybe it was him. Maybe it wasn't him. I don't know. We'll get to all that. We'll hear from Watson. Our picks are coming up at 10 o'clock. Sonny Gupta from Tipico. We'll get some Ohio State insight as well for your betting needs on with our friends at Tipico. And get signed up, folks. You need your bet credits for football season. Big Play Network is presented by Tipico Sportsbook. We got everything you need. The traditional bets, the money line, the spreads, the point totals. What I really love on Tipico are the boosts. And I didn't even check this morning, Ryan. I'm ill-prepared, which rarely happens. That's a lie. You'll find that out over there. Because we submitted our very own show boost for Tipico. Let's see. It's not up yet. That's okay. We'll get it done. We put one in because actually this is pretty fun for us moving forward, is that we'll be able to get our own boost. And so like the big play boost for this weekend, Deshaun Watson, 150 passing yards and Jerome Ford touchdown, that is boosted to plus 155 there on Tipico. So you get your traditional ones, you can hit those, but I love the boosts on Tipico. They're always fun. And to be frank and honest for a second, Ryan, who's not Frank, they have a lot more boosts than a lot of their things that I was on other sports books in the past and all that, and they're great, but Tipico's got a lot of good boosts, and they have them all the time. It's not just one or two. Like, they have a lot.
It can't be overstated enough that they really do have amazing odds. Like, boosts, like, there's no reason not.
And for all sports, I got 4 NCAA football boosts for this weekend. I have 5 MLB boosts just for tonight. I get a boost for the UFC fight this weekend. I love it. Tipico, use the code BIGPLAY150 when you sign up. You get some bonus bets. Play with those this weekend as well. $150 in bet credits plus a $30 dog pound bet futures when you deposit $50 with our friends at Tipico. Bet big play, bet with big play all week, all season, right here with our friends at Tipico using code BIGPLAY150. When we return, we'll hear from Deshaun Watson. Comes your way next. Fontana, big play. Stay with us. Gearing up for a huge weekend of football. Browns, Titans, Ohio State, Notre Dame. We're hoping the Browns turn things around with Deshaun Watson. Our Twitter question is up at I'm going to do that all the time, Ryan. I'm shocked I haven't done it more. At Matt Fontana Show is where it's at. Drop us a follow there. And we're asking everybody, is Sunday a must-win game for the Browns? I said yes. Ryan said yes. 92-8. 92-8. People are saying yes on that side of it. Well, we know a big win would go a long way for Deshaun Watson. And that's even, we're going to hear from Watson in a second. A win, people always say that solves everything, right? Yes, to a point. But also, I think that relieves a little bit of pressure on Watson. Even in Cincinnati, right? When we beat Cincinnati, he didn't play well, but you still won. And people are still feeling good. He plays bad, the Browns lose, things start coming out, right? A win solves it. I hope Watson can contribute. But we look back on that game against the Steelers, and a couple questions to Deshaun Watson. First up, Watson, Deshaun, what was some of the biggest issues that you saw in the game and that you take away? This sound courtesy of the Browns. Here's Deshaun Watson on the issues they faced Monday night.
For myself, it's just being on the same page with everybody else. And that's just going with the, protection-wise to the coverage-wise to what, we're thinking about with Kevin, if it's going to be a 4-down situation, if it's a 3rd-down situation, if I need to take the shots, if I don't need to take the shots, and things like that. So just being able to just continue to grow and learn.
That sounds like rust. Those all sound like things of a quarterback that hadn't played. I got to figure out where I'm going to throw the football on 3rd down or when I'm going to take my shot. Sounds like rust. And I don't know how that's not knocked off already, Ryan. Like, I can't. For all of the reasons why the Browns offense struggled and maybe all the reasons why Deshaun Watson specifically struggled, there are no good answers because I don't want any of those answers, right? But the one that I think resonates least with me is I'm still rusty. What else are you going to say? The offense, go Justin Fields and nuke your coaches. The offense just sucks. The guys I'm playing with just aren't very good. Those aren't great answers either. I come from a standpoint of there are no answers that Deshaun Watson could give me that'll make me feel better about how he played. So I guess I just got to understand that I'm going to be angry about it. It is what it is. Now, another kind of story this week was the Browns dealing with the loss of Nick Chubb. Joel Bitonio said that was a real shock to some of the guys they had to overcome. And here's Deshaun Watson. He spoke about just losing some other guys in addition to Chubb as well.
You got to think, we had some injuries, so, we had a rookie tackle that came in, so we got to change up a little bit of the protection-wise. Nick went out early on, so, some young running backs that got to come in protection-wise. And then some of the receivers, Coop, he was a guy that came along during camp. He didn't get too many reps. Elijah is new to the system.
What? Did he go to these guys just got here card? Can you play it again, Ryan, please? This is Watson talking about Monday, and he's going to the guys just got here card.
You got to think, we had some injuries, so we had a rookie tackle that came in, so we got to change up a little bit of the protection-wise.
Played fine.
Nick went out early on.
I know, it sucked.
Some young running backs that got to come in protection-wise.
I get it.
And then some of the receivers, Coop, he was a guy that came along during camp. He didn't get too many reps. Elijah is new to the system.
Came along in camp. He's talking about Amari Cooper like he's a 5th-round wide receiver from Western Michigan. He came along in camp. What? That guy's a 10-year veteran. He was here all of last year. Did you know? Well, again, he got hurt, but did you know you were throwing to Amari Cooper last year too? What do you mean these guys just got here? I need to stop myself. I'm not going to accept any of these answers. So I can't get angry because I'm not going to accept any of these answers. That one is weak. That one's weak. I'm sorry. I can't have that. I will not accept that. You can make all the excuses live long day you want. I can't buy these guys just got here. Elijah Moore, yeah, maybe. You're not throwing him the football. All I wanted through 2 games so far is more Elijah Moore. I wanted. Throw him the football. The other guys were all here. Last year, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Amari Cooper, David Bell. Where's Steven Njoku been, by the way? That's not his fault. All we're getting is screens on 3rd and 13. These guys just got here. Good. Okay. Final one. Watson went on this blocking spree on Twitter. I was one. Well, I really don't care he blocked me, but I thought it was a bigger. I think it's a bigger statement on maybe where his head is at, and if he needs to clear this out, and if he needs to just get away from all of it, I would say just delete social media. But whatever. Okay, fine. He was asked about the social media thing. He wasn't specifically asked about blocking people on Twitter, but he was just asked about social media. Here's Deshaun Watson, sound courtesy of the Browns.
No, it doesn't impact me. I don't get into any of the social media stuff. So, my main job is here to play football and to be the best teammate and do what I can do to help the team win.
I'm going to be extremely critical for just a second. I believe him when he says that the social media stuff doesn't impact him, or he tries to not let it impact him. Okay, that's fine. And I could go back to, again, just delete it, don't look at it. Okay, but if you want to keep it, and everybody has a right to have social media, I'm sure he follows a lot of cool things. I follow a lot of Batman things that I like on social media. It's great. It's awesome. And if you want to block people because you don't want to see that, then that's fine. But then also it kind of made it sound like he's not even on social media. So then if he's not on social media and somebody else really is running it, can the agent then not handle it? Imagine for a second, Ryan, that you are my social media agent and you run my Twitter and I don't even look at it. And people were talking bad about me. Not the first time nor the last. Would you're not me. So you're like, you know what I mean? Like there's a buffer there to be like, oh, okay, I see this. Like, so what? Who cares?
Yeah, but Nick put out a pretty interesting tweet. Let me pull it up real quick.
Shout out to Nick Padone. Reflog. Are they doing the betting show today, by the way?
They are.
Big okay, Dave and Nick, don't miss it. Big play, big bets. It's where this. I don't want to put it on and mess my hair up, but big play. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So Nick said, because somebody tweeted, just hoping he has a social media or PR team that's doing this. Not a good look if it's not. And Nick Padone tweeted, as someone who manages social media pages for a living, you don't block people on pages that aren't your personals.
Exactly.
That's him.
That's right. Because as a social media manager, you just deal with it. Right. Exactly. You are the buffer. That's what you get paid to do. And, never mind. As I say, like if he's running social media, which a lot of these athletes do to get paid, you don't want to block people. You want the most amount of followers that you can get. And a lot of times there's two schools of thought. There are people like Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is very active on social media. He likes posting on Instagram, and he's a great follow, and people love him for that. There are other guys, kind of like Nick Chubb, where only thing he really tweeted ever was endorsement type stuff. And I follow Nick, and I'm not knocking the hustle. Like, that's cool too. So in that world of if you're using it for ads or you're using it for endorsements, which again, I can't tell you because I don't see Watson's tweets, but I think that was kind of more of the realm. You don't want to be blocking people, especially in the media, because sometimes the media will see what you're doing and say, oh, hey, like let me just give you just a quick example before we get to our picks. Like last year, or maybe even the year before, Nick Chubb partnered with a cereal brand to make Chubb Crunch. It was a delicious cereal. And the best part of it was they were raising money to give to SIDS. Unfortunately, his family, I believe his nephew, passed away, sudden infant death syndrome, which is just awful and is just absolutely terrible. And we talked to Nick about it, and he said, I partnered with these people to create this brand, and we are raising money to be able to help research. A fantastic cause. I went and bought a box. It's really good. It tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It was awesome. But in that world, where Nick did send that tweet out, he would want media people to say, hey, everybody go support Nick. And I did. I tweeted back. I said, hey, man, this is awesome. Everybody go support Nick in this venture and pick up a box when you can. I think they were at Heinen's. So that's the other side of the coin. And granted, Watson's got $230 million. He's not out there kind of weird. I don't buy it. Something's funky going on with it. I don't care that Deshaun Watson blocked me. I care that I think it says something bigger about where he's at mentally.
I care that he didn't block me.
I can block him.
I'm not relevant.
Okay. Well, somebody on this show has got to be able to check his tweets out.
Yeah, that's
so keep it that way.
Very true, very true.
All right, Ryan, here we are. Week 3, our bets with Tipico. Solid week for us last week on the picks. We'll run through every single NFL game. We'll give you our slate. And don't forget, Sonny Gupta from Tipico, Sportsbook Manager. He's coming up in about 15 minutes. We'll talk to him about Ohio State, Notre Dame. NFL picks are next right here on Big Play. Tipico Sportsbook. Picks of the weekend. Tipico. Big play, 150. Use the code. Get signed up. Free bonus bets for the weekend. Ron and I, a modest week last week, if you will. I went 6-6. We threw out the Denver game, and thank God that we did, because we were both going to take Denver. Threw that out. Did 12 games last week. I went 6-6. Ryan with 7-5. So out to a little lead there, Mr. Ryan Tyler.
Make a little bit of money.
That's all right. Made some money last night because you and I both had the 49ers easy. I took the under. My favorite bet of that was the under. So that was a good one to be had. But nonetheless, get to Tipico. Use the code BIGPLAY150. BIGPLAY150 is the one to use with our friends at Tipico. And get signed up today. And what I love about it, too, you get the futures bet. So there is a futures bet that you get $30, and it's good for a year. It's good for a year. And I believe it's football. Check on that. But check it out. Tipico Sportsbook. Get signed up there. We'll run through all of our picks right now. Let's get it started. So we start on the 1 o'clock slate. Sorry, I'm in week 2 still. Gotta flip this over. I get to week 3. Here we go. Loading up. All right, Falcons, Lions, 1 o'clock kick. This game is up in Detroit. The Falcons, one of the shocking teams, coming in at a 2-0 record. But who are they really beat? The Lions coming in 1-1. They got that big one over the Chiefs. They stumbled last week against the Seattle Seahawks. This is a 3-point customary home favorite for the Detroit Lions. Actually, 3.5 on Tipico. I'm going to take Detroit, and I'm going to take them minus that 3.5. I don't think I keep waiting for the the Falcons bubble to burst. I think the fact that they're on the road, I think this is one that Dan Campbell and the Lions will be able to take care of. Ryan.
This is an interesting one. Wow. Okay. My gut. Oh, I can't go. I'm going to go against my gut, and I'm going to regret it. But I'm going to take Atlanta, actually.
Oh, all right. ATL plus the 3.5.
I think they're just going to control the clock the entire game.
Also, 1 o'clock down in Jacksonville, AFC South battle. 8.5 for the Jags as they welcome the Texans to town. This is our trap of the week. This seems like it should be the trap of the week, but it's hard because you watch Jacksonville against a good Chiefs team that got Chris Jones back, and you say, oh my God, they only put up 9 points. Jacksonville is still the class of that division. They know they want to win that division, and this is a division football game. I will take Jacksonville. I think 8.5 is a little rich for me, but I got to take them there. Even if I might go alternate spread on that. We don't do that here with our picks with Tipico, though. So 8.5, I'll take Jacksonville. Ryan.
I'm going to take Jacksonville as well. I like them here, especially after coming off that loss to the Chiefs. I would be surprised if they came out lackluster.
Oh, lackluster. Russell Wilson, Denver Broncos. They travel to Miami. They take on one of the hottest teams in football, the Miami Dolphins. Broncos 0-2. They are a dumpster fire. Miami 2-0. It seems like, again, that this would be a letdown potential trap game after Sunday night win for Miami. I think Miami's focused. I think there's a lot of problems going on with Denver. I'm surprised this line isn't a little bigger than it is, but I'm going to take Miami minus that 6.5.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go Miami.
Miami it is.
I think they can easily cover by a touchdown.
Bills traveling down to take on the Commanders. The Commanders, another shocking 2-0 team. Bills are 1-1. 6 points here on the road, which is a lot. And I think about that Washington defense. I'll let you go first on this one, Ryan. Bills, Commanders, 6.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to go Buffalo.
Okay.
I'm going to go Buffalo.
I'll take Buffalo as well, and I'll take them minus that 6. We continue on here with a 1 o'clock game. The Colts traveling to take on the Ravens up in Baltimore. This is actually one of my locks of the weekend, and that will be going for the Baltimore Ravens minus that 8. Anthony Richardson, nah.
Right. So I'm going to assume he's not playing.
Yeah, he's injured. You got to get Gardner Minshew in there.
So that... I'm going to go Colts to cover that one.
Wow, Colts plus the 8. All right.
I think
Gardner Minshew's a cover machine, man. He backdoors
I think it's
quite
going
a
to
little
be
bit
closer than some people might think.
Another 1 o'clock kick. The Chargers traveling to take on the Vikings. These are potentially the two most disappointing teams to start the season. The Chargers, a shocking 0-2, as are the Vikings. one of these teams, Ryan, will go to 0-3 after being playoff teams just a year ago. I'll take Justin Herbert. I'll take the Chargers. I'll take them minus that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Chargers as well. And this game we might see 800 passing yards combined from the quarterbacks. Both of those defenses, it's I don't know. It'll be fun.
The Saints a little bit of an upstart team here at 2-0, led by Derek Carr. Now I read into the teams that they have beaten: Tennessee and the Panthers. Packers are 1-1. They're trying to figure things out with Jordan Love. This is in Lambeau. Green Bay, a 1.5 home favorite. I hate going with so many favorites here, Ryan. Aaron Jones limited in practice this week with the hamstring. Still no word on Christian Watson. You know what? I'm going to take my first dog. I'm going to take New Orleans. I'm going to take them plus the 1. 1.5, by the way.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're gonna disagree then, yeah, because I'm gonna go Packers on this one.
All right, Green Bay minus.
They've been kind of my team this year that I've been betting on. And they've been making me some money, so I can't stray if it's working.
4 o'clock up in the Northwest. It is Seattle welcoming in the Panthers. 6-point home spread there for Seattle. Of course, the Seahawks got a nice win last week against the Lions. Panthers, they're competitive in games. How good are they? I don't know. They're 0-2. I think they will fall to 0-3. Now, the question is, will Seattle get them by 6? I think they will. That's a long trip. Seattle minus 6.
I'm with you on that one. I think Seattle will cover. And, right, Bryce Young. Has that been confirmed yet if he's out?
I have not seen, but they're planning on him not playing. Yeah, probably not.
Andy Dalton will get that start.
That might actually be a little better for them, but we will see. We have two 12.5-point spreads here, both 425. Cowboys, Cardinals, Chiefs, Bears. I'm going to take the Cards to cover. I don't know why. I know the Giants suck, but I think they'll get under that 12.5. And I will take the Chiefs to bury the Bears. They got some real problems going on over there. Home game for the Chiefs, by the way. Cowboys are in Arizona, so I'll take Arizona plus the 12.5.
So I'm gonna go Cowboys to cover that. And then I agree. I'm going to take the Chiefs to beat the Bears pretty badly.
All right, to Sunday Night Football. The Steelers traveling out to Allegiant Stadium to take on the Raiders. Both teams are 1-1. Kenny Pickett not looking good. Really, there's a world that the Steelers should be 0-2. For the Raiders, they beat the hapless Broncos and got smoked by the Bills. I've got this one as a standard 3 for the Raiders at home, and I will take Pittsburgh plus that 3. I think they're actually going to get that win out there in the desert.
I agree with you on that one, Matt.
All right, Pittsburgh plus the 3. We'll get a little more insight with this. Sonny Gupta of Tipico Sportsbook going to join us. We're going to kick things off right with Ohio State. 3-point spread, taking on Notre Dame. We'll take a look at some of the other college slate as well and get his thoughts on some of the NFL games that we just picked. Sonny Gupta, Tipico, joining us next. Use that code BigPlay150. This is Big Play Sports Network. We're live. iHeart app. We're on social media, the Twitter, YouTube, of course on Facebook, and check us out, again, streaming live on the iHeart app with our podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Sonny from Tipico joins us next. Man, I love weekends like this because you have massive college games. We didn't really have a great slate last weekend, but we got a good one this weekend, especially if you're an Ohio State fan. Notre Dame, and then, of course, Sunday, Browns, Titans. We made our picks for the NFL. We got to get a little more insight on some of those picks and, of course, some Ohio State and Notre Dame selections as well. To do that, we bring in Sonny Gupta of Tipico, Sportsbook Manager. Use that code BIGPLAY150. Get those bonus bets, including a $30 dog pound bet for the future. Again, Big Play 150 at Tipico. Sonny, we were going over our picks last week. I was a modest 6-6 on the NFL slate. Ryan a little 7-5. So we're still in the green here. We're still allowed to play this week on Tipico.
We love it. We love to hear it.
Sonny, I want to start with that Ohio State-Notre Dame matchup. So it's a 3-point favorite. It is in South Bend, which some people are reading a lot into that. Two undefeated teams. I think I saw it was one of a couple of matchups of undefeated teams this weekend. Ohio State has only covered in one of their games thus far. It was last week against Western Kentucky, where the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are 3-1 against the spread this year. They're the dog. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm leaning Ohio State. I lean Ohio State. I've seen some of the things out there, somewhere around 60-40 as far as the percentage chance that Ohio State might get that win. I think the 3 is manageable. I like that spread a lot. What do you see in this Ohio State-Notre Dame matchup, and where are you leaning with your spread?
You were on Ohio State last week, right?
I was. That was one of my locks, and they got it done. Hopefully they're turning the corner a little here for us.
Yeah, okay, look. I think what we've seen this year is that the best teams are not covering, right? Ohio State finally covered last week. Michigan has yet to cover. Georgia has yet to cover. This one's interesting. So it started at Ohio State. When we opened it, it started at -8. Obviously, it's come down a little bit. Notre Dame's looked good. Ohio State has not looked as great. Right here, you gotta lean Ohio State. Notre Dame hasn't really played anybody. Neither has Ohio State. But I think you have to trust that Marvin Harrison Jr. gets it done. That the team Ohio State gets it done. I think Ohio State is one of those sleeping dogs right now. Obviously, as a Michigan fan, I'm rooting for Big Ten to be good until my team plays them. But I think this is a great spot for Ohio State. Only laying 3 points is awesome. I think you want to eat it up here. Even until yesterday, it was 3.5. Now you're getting it at 3. So Ohio State to cover is where I'm at.
I like the under at 55.5, where Kyle McCord looked better, but this will also be the best defense he has played. And I think Ohio State's defense, I was critical of them last week, and people got upset with me, like, oh, they're still playing well. I'm like, it's Western Kentucky. I like the under. I know Hartman is on fire right now for Notre Dame, but 55 seems like a lot. I like the under there. What do you think?
I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame tries to slow the clock down a lot and run the ball down their throat. So the under is a very interesting play here. I'm just not a huge fan in general of betting the under. It's just not as fun of a game. And look, dude, Ohio State, 7:30 on a Saturday. You don't really want to root for no points, but yeah, that's a very interesting play. And more of our money actually is on the under than the over. So I wouldn't be surprised if the under wins out here.
There we go. Any other bets that you're looking at this weekend for college football? We have some big matchups. People were kind of shocked about Ole Miss, Alabama. You'd never thought that matchup be a 13-15 game there. A couple other top 25 games. You mentioned Michigan. They're in action against Rutgers. There's a massive line there. Florida State, Clemson. So some of the top teams should have easy wins here, but of course, that's where the spread makes things interesting. Any other college games across the slate? Georgia, UAB at 7:30. Anything you're really looking at that you like?
Since week 2, the most action we've seen on a Saturday has been on a Colorado game, right? Like every single week, Colorado is the primetime game. And yet again, we're seeing the most action on the Colorado-Oregon game. So that one calls out to me. Obviously, it's very interesting that Oregon's laying 21 points right now. It was 21.5 yesterday. Now it's gone down to 21. That's the one that speaks to me. I'm going to be betting Colorado again. I know last week they couldn't cover. Obviously, they overhit by a mile because of overtime, but that's the 21 points is way too many points to me. 70 is also a very interesting over-under. I'm going to be betting the under. I know I just contradicted myself with what I just said last
70
time.
70 is a lot of points.
70 is so many points. I really do think that Colorado can at least cover. And hey, they might make it an interesting game, so they might win outright. But I'm gonna bet Colorado plus 21. I refuse to bet against Prime, so we're gonna see what happens here.
Sonny Gupta from Tipico, Sportsbook Manager, joining us. Use that code BIGPLAY150. Get signed up for those bonus bets. Get the wagers in for this weekend. So we like Ohio State to get that done. Like Colorado, like the under there as well. To the pro slated things, it's a 3-point game for this weekend, Sonny, for the Cleveland Browns. They welcome the Tennessee Titans. And I feel like a lot of people are picking the Titans plus the 3.5. That seems to be the darling dog pick of the weekend. And a lot of it really does come back to if Deshaun Watson gets back to form, can the Titans kind of continue to run Derrick Henry? What can the Browns defense do? I love the under in this game. The spread is something that gives me a little pause for concern, though. What do you see the Browns Titans?
You love the under. So 39.5 is an interesting line. Obviously one of the lower over-unders of the week. Deshaun Watson has not looked great this season yet at all. Nick Chubb's injury, obviously very tough here. Mike Vrabel's really tough to bet against because he does cover very often.
Yes.
But the Browns at home, I think rallying around that injury is a very interesting play here. I love the Browns -3 in this spot here. So we have more money on the Titans than we do the Browns. Obviously, it's come down from 3.5 to 3. But the Browns -3, -115 on Tipico's app right now is where I would lean. I think the Browns rally around this injury and they get done here.
Sonny, I want to ask you about two of the bigger spreads because double digits in the NFL, it's not unheard of. And we have two of them in 12.5, Bears, Chiefs, and the Cowboys and the Cardinals. I mean, specifically about those games, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but how do you view when it comes to these double digits where it is the NFL, the professionals, but we've seen some just real blowouts early in this season as well. I think actually Ryan and I split where we both like the Chiefs minus that 12. I actually like the Cards to get under that 12.5 against Dallas. Just your opinion on either those games or just double-digit point spreads in general. Is that something that's a little wary when it comes to the NFL?
Yeah, let's talk Bears Chiefs. So I guess my thoughts in general on those double-digit point spreads is I don't touch those double-digit point spreads. Yeah. The NFL, yes, like we've seen some blowouts, but any given Sunday, right? Like that's the motto. I hate betting or hate laying that many points just with a heavy favorite here. With the Bears Chiefs, I think what we'll see here is in the first half, you'll kind of know the result of the game, right? Like I think the Bears are in an interesting spot where if they don't get it done this week, you can very much see them and the Cardinals kind of tanking at the same time, going for that Caleb Williams number 1 draft pick here. So I think we'll find out very quickly if the Chiefs are going to blow them out based on the first few drives here. So I'm not going to lay the 12.5 that it is right now on Tipico's app, but it's a very interesting play because I could see the Bears kind of giving up on the season within the first half of this year.
And we didn't make our picks for Monday night, but I'd love your insight here. Eagles -5 at Tampa Bay. That seems to be easy to roll with Philly. Like I want to believe in Tampa, but I kind of don't. And then a game a lot of Browns fans are going to watch is Rams-Bengals in Cincinnati. Mostly going to watch if Joe Burrow is going to play in that game. Sonny, I personally don't think he's going to play, and then that's going to lean me to grab the Rams as quick as I can, -3. Has that line moved a lot this week with just all the injury updates with Joe Burrow?
What are you basing this injury situation on?
Just I mean, and it sounds like they, with how bad he came out of that game and just some of the things I'm hearing out of Cincinnati, I don't think it's just me. I don't think Joe Burrow's going to play.
Yeah. So that total is something I've been watching. So I jumped on the under, actually on Sunday night because I also thought Joe Burrow was not going to play. It was at 42.5. Now it's at 44. So that's the opposite of what you call closing line value. I got a bad line. But no, the gambling line seems to reflect that he is going to play right now. Okay. And that total going up. So unless we hear anything different from Schefter or anything else, I would assume that he's playing. The -3 also reflects that he's going to play. Obviously, the Bengals have not looked good this season, but the gambling indication is that he is going to play right now.
You think it'd be 3, even like with Burrow? Because I thought it might have got up to even 4.5 or 5 if Burrow was playing. Do you think the injury factors into that, or do you think the 3 at home for Burrow taking on the Rams, like that 3 is where you think it should be?
I think it should be right there. Like what have we? You can only base it off of this year's results, and the Rams have looked good, and the Bengals have not. Right, so I think that's all you can do, and I don't think that he's going to be 100% healthy when he plays, but you have to base it off of this year's results, and there's nothing to show that the Bengals are what they were last year.
I love it. Sonny Gupta, Tipico Sportsbook Manager. As always, every Friday, we appreciate the time, man. We'll get the bets in. I got to get above 500. We'll do that this weekend with some of the ones. I love Ohio State, and I'm riding the Browns with you. Sonny, I appreciate it. Have a good weekend, man.
You too. Have a good one.
There you go. Sonny Gupta from Tipico. Use that code BIGPLAY150 to get in there, get your free bets, and make the same wagers that we did right here on the show. When we come back, we'll dive into Time Hop. I got a good TV show there for you, Ryan, coming up, so we'll get to that. Head back in history. We'll update our Twitter question as well. Do you believe Sunday is a must-win game for the Cleveland Browns? We'll jump into all that right here. Matt Fontana Show on Big Play. All right, back here on the Matt Fontana Shows, we always do a little bit of time hop. We head back this day in history and tell you what happened. We are to September 22nd. September slipping away from us just a little bit here. It is 10:30 right here on the Matt Fontana Show. Welcome back, Big Play Radio, Big Play Network. Of course, check us out on the iHeart app. You can check Chico out coming up at noon, and so get you ready for the weekend as well. Big college slate, big pro slate, and all of it right here. Chico 12 to 2. We're on 9 to 11 each and every day. We head back in time up, including 4 years ago today, Ryan. Sunday Night Football, the Browns fall to the Rams, 20-13. It was, I believe, Sunday Night Football. It was. Goff threw 2 touchdowns, out-dueled Baker Mayfield, and the Browns fall 20-13. The Rams improve to 3-0, and of course, we would know where they're going. This day, 2018, here's a little trivia question for you on the morning. The Indians at the time became the first Major League Baseball team in history to have 4 pitchers record 200 strikeouts in a season. 2018. Can you name the 4 pitchers? For the Cleveland baseball team, This day, 2018, first team in history to have 4 guys with 200 strikeouts.
Okay. And before, I don't want anybody in the comments to judge me because baseball and my knowledge is not advanced. But, okay. Corey Kluber?
Correct.
Carlos Carrasco?
Correct. The next 2 guys both had a very ugly exit from this town.
Mike Clevenger?
Yep.
And Trevor Bauer.
That is correct. All right, Ryan. Nice. Yes. Well done. Yes. Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Mike Clevenger, and Carlos Carrasco. Walk it off on that for a Friday. There you go. First team in history to have 4 pitchers with 200 strikeouts. I get weird with when people pass away. If you listen to the show that I used to do, pretty famously, Billy Mays and all that stuff. Anyway, I'll tell that story one day. But this one I bring up because Yogi Berra unfortunately passed away this day, 2015. And it's just, there's so many Yogi-isms. And my favorite one is, you better cut that pizza into 4 slices. I'm not hungry enough to eat 8. It's one of my favorite things that always stuck with Yogi Berra. It's got all the Yogi-isms that you could have. He passed away this day, 2015. This day, 2013, a victory for the Cleveland Browns. They beat the Minnesota Vikings 31-17. This day, 2013. I'm pulling up the box score here for it. Because with that win, the Browns got their first win of the season. Brian Hoyer threw for 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. I'll give you $1,000 if you guess the quarterback that he beat that day for the Minnesota Vikings.
Can you repeat that for me real quick?
The guy that he beat in 2013 is the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Former first-round pick, by the way.
So the quarterback. So I'm naming the quarterback for the Vikings.
Yes.
Right? 2013. Wow. Is it Ryan Mallett?
Christian Ponder.
Wow. Oh,
Christian Ponder. Remember him? That was that year that everybody just ran up and got a quarterback and they all sucked. The Browns' leading rusher was some guy named Josh Aubrey, who had 1 carry for 34 yards. But Hoyer threw 3 touchdowns in that game to get a win for the Browns this day, 2013. This day, 2007, very infamously, I'm a man. I'm 40. Mike Gundy's rant. He had the newspaper. He was complaining about something that somebody wrote about one of his players. And come after me. I'm 40. Yes, Mike Gundy's infamous speech this day, 2007. A lot of TV shows for you coming up, but in a second. This day, 1969, Willie Mays hit his 600th home run, of course, on the way to become the true hit king. I don't know how you want to view all of that. This day, 1862, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which set a freedom date for more than 3 million enslaved people. This day, 1692, the end of the Salem witch trials with the final executions. It was probably a weird time to be alive. I can only imagine. Very happy birthday goes out to Big Play Gary Barnage, Ronaldo, the Brazilian, not Cristiano Ronaldo, and David Coverdale, Whitesnake lead singer. Now, Ryan, I left a lot of time because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 television shows and 1 movie for you today.
Well, I went 4-0 with the Guards pitcher, so
all right.
I can do it.
We will go in chronological order, starting with our only film. This day, 1994. A poster of Raquel Welch was a very big part of this film. A poster of Raquel Welch was a very big part of this film.
I'd be lying if I said I knew who that was.
Okay. She's an actress. Trying to think. 94. I would try to do the voice. I'm not going to do it justice, but my friend Andy Dufresne. Nothing?
Oh. Andy Dufresne. That's is that Shawshank?
That is Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. Well done, yes. So he had the poster of Raquel Welch, and then he threw the pebble through it. That's what he was doing to hide the hole.
Okay.
When he went out. Red, when he goes, I'd imagine it took a man about 25 years to tunnel out, and Andy did it. One of the best prison movies of all time. It was funny because we just brought up Shawshank the other day with Stephen King. But it's up there. Escape from Alcatraz is still one of my favorites, too. The Rock is very good. I get it. But Shawshank Redemption, and you just said because it's the highest rated movie on IMDb.
Yep, all time.
Shawshank Redemption, this day, 1994. All right, now we're into all TV shows on the rest of the way out. This day, 1994. I wish I could play the theme for you, but I can't. A group of 6 people who live in New York City.
Sex in the City?
No, good guess.
A group of 6 people.
Six people who live in New York City.
Oh, Friends.
Friends is correct. Yes, I would play the theme. I can't play the theme. Everybody knows the theme, but Friends. This day, 1994. All right, this is a double because this day, 1989, it was the debut of TGIF. What a time to be alive. Thank goodness it's Friday. And they had a lineup of shows. I used to watch them. I loved one of these shows. But I'll give you 2 of the biggest ones. First one up, Officer Carl Winslow and his family have a real geeky neighbor.
That is, oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm just drawing a blank. What?
You know,
yeah, Urkel. Yeah, why can't I think of the show? Oh my goodness.
Family Matters. I'll give you the pass. You got Urkel. I loved Family Matters. That was my favorite one of that, and Fresh Prince on TGIF was the best. All right, I'll give that one to you. Also debuting this day, 1989 on TGIF. Or not, this wasn't on TGIF because the TGIF lineup was Family Matters. Oh, we'll give you another show in a second. Perfect Strangers, just 10 of us, and then, another show. A family with a set of very famous twins.
Full House.
Full House is correct, yes. So Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, and 10 of us were all on TGIF. Now, here's the thing. Full House actually premiered in 1987, but then they moved it into TGIF. I'm not a true millennial nor 90s kid in the fact of I don't like Full House. I don't really like it. It never really resonated with me. Not really my cup of tea. I didn't watch the remakes.
It's definitely nowhere near on the same level of, like you said, Fresh Prince and, yeah.
Final one, this day, 1989. The Hoff saves people from drowning.
Baywatch?
Baywatch is correct. Well done, Ryan. I'll give you an assist on the 4 for 4 today.
Let's go.
Friends, Shawshank Redemption, Family Matters, Baywatch, and Full House. I think that's 5, actually. That's 5 for you here on a Friday. Perfect with Time Hop. All right, let's catch our final break of the year, or the morning, excuse me. We'll get ready. Sunday, Browns-Titans. We'll get our final Twitter question in. We'll get our final update on the votes and get you ready for a big weekend of football. Stay with us. Fontana, Big Play, iHeart streaming there, YouTube, social media. Check us all out. Wrap things up next. It's all in front of the Browns Sunday, man. This is it. Our Twitter question this morning. Welcome back. Matt Fontana Show here on Big Play. Do you believe that this is a must-win game for the Cleveland Browns on Sunday against the Titans? I've said yes. Ryan has said yes. We had Jack Duffin on earlier. If you missed that, go back, check it out. He said yes. 90-10. People are saying yeah. I didn't want to create this pressure. I didn't want to be in this situation, but Ryan, we are now in this situation. And it's more about what the Browns show. Yes, to a point, but also you are at home against a team that you should beat. Regardless of not having Nick Chubb, you have the better defense, you have the better quarterback, you can stop it right there. That's it. You want to make some intangible things about the wide receivers, or you want to talk offensive line. They have the better offensive line, certainly. They have the better running back, fine. Head coaching, yeah, I get all of it. But man, this is it. This is all of it for the Browns right now. And there's a lot of pressure on Kevin Stefanski, too, Ryan, on this game. He is facing a better coach in Mike Vrabel. And he's not calling plays necessarily like Stefanski is, but this is everything, just to calm it. And I think what so many people are getting riled up about this week, because I hate seeing this crap play out the way that it does, where there are so many people that we start turning on each other. Browns fans start getting upset with the media. They start getting upset with each other. And it's all because there are questions surrounding this team. We just want these questions answered. And Sunday is one of those things that it's going to flip. It's going to flip either way, where we can all wake up Monday and feel good about it, or we all start questioning everything that's going on. I think another factor that does help is you are at home. If you got to play the small, slow game, even without Nick Chubb, they're going to run the ball. You know that. Your defense is stout. Got to be able to stop it. But am I crazy, Ryan, to sit here and think that if you just get to 21 points, you're winning this football game? With what the Browns defense is and what we've seen out of them so far, I have this feeling that I think 21 points is going to be enough. In the two games for the Titans, they put up 15 in a loss, and they put up 27 on what appears to maybe be a bad Chargers defense in overtime, too, to get that done. I think 21 points is going to be able to. 24 would be great. Give me a field goal, mix that out with Dustin Hopkins. I think you get that coming up Sunday. You're going to get a recipe for success.
Yeah, I agree. It in theory, it seems like it's going to be a low-scoring game. Obviously, like we just saw Tennessee put up 27, and we are so much better than the Chargers defense. I would expect that to be the formula.
The other thing I'm going to watch a lot of is finishing off drives. And maybe it's just off of Thursday Night Football last night. When you get to the red zone, you got to score touchdowns. And that's where the last two games, the Titans have given up 305 yards each to Derek Carr and to Justin Herbert. You got to cash that in for points. Like, you have got to be able, and I'm asking, honestly, this is my stat line that I'm asking for Deshaun Watson, just based off of the stats that I've seen out of the two quarterbacks they face. I need 302 touchdowns out of Deshaun Watson. I need that for Sunday. That's where I'm setting my mark to start everything. And it's easy to say, okay, we'll get pass happy because we don't have Nick Chubb out there. That should be the strength, okay? That is the craziest thing. Your strength should be your quarterback. Now, it was Nick Chubb because you had Nick Chubb, and he's an elite running back. You got to use that. That is gone now. That is gone now. And there are a lot of people who are going to watch Sunday to see what this offense looks like without Chubb. And they've done a good job all week. All week of, we don't really see that big of an impact, or we're going to try to figure it out. All that, I get it. I completely understand that. But Ryan, Sunday's our first chance to see that. And it's a defense that is bottom of the league when it comes to pass defense. You should be able to take advantage. This should be a perfect game just to throw it out there and be like, you know what? Let's see what Deshaun Watson's got. And let him throw it 30 odds, 40 odds sometimes if needed. You're going to have it with Deshaun Watson. You're going to have to find a way to get a win. There's a lot of pressure on that. Where we go from there, we'll see. I feel confident that the Browns will be able to get it done. I like a minus that 3. I like the under for Sunday's game a lot. I feel like Tennessee's just going to be able to try to run the football the best they can and try to eke it out. But Sunday will come down to the mental side of the Browns as well. Because I need them to come out with a fast start, too. I need them to come out and get back into the flow of the game, and they can't let this slip away. Like, this truly seems like a game that'll teeter, that'll really kind of send them in one way. Can't let that slip away. Ohio State, same thing. Every single week seems to be a national championship. You lose, you're out. We know what that can be. I think the biggest challenge can be that they're on the road. And there's a little pause for concern that you have a rookie quarterback in Kyle McCord starting, and you're in South Bend playing in a primetime game. Everybody's going to be there. Did you see the celebrity pickers this weekend for College Game Day? Vince Vaughn.
Oh, I love Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, you're not a State fan, I think. No, maybe he's a Notre Dame fan. I don't know. I'm assuming he's right there. But
I love Vince Vaughn.
What's your favorite Vince Vaughn movie?
Oh gosh,
Wedding Crashers is the answer for me.
Yeah, Wedding Crashers is so good. I like Four Christmases.
My wife likes that movie. I'm not really on board with it. That's fine.
Or the one where him and all his friends go on
Old School.
Yes,
Old School is great. I like Old School a lot. That's up there. But Wedding Crashers, I think, is untouched, especially for his character, the best. So he's your celebrity picker for Saturday for Notre Dame, Ohio State. That's another one, too, that Ohio State, for the first time, will have the quarterback deficit. And that's crazy because I know people are bringing up that Western Kentucky kid. Oh, he led the league, or, led FBS and this and that kind of stuff. Sam Hartman's a better quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Better quarterback. Now, you start talking about skill position players. You start talking about where Ohio State can get the win. Defensively is another position or another spot that I need to saw. I was critical of their defense last week, and people got so offended. Oh, my. It's Western Kentucky. I'm gonna hold Ohio State's defense to a higher standard than that. And there were some things I didn't like. I frankly think they're void of talent there. I think they have some good players, not great.
Yeah, and I mean Notre Dame, I think that they definitely got the edge on the quarterback, and their offensive line is one of the best in the country. So it's going to be a ground game. They're just going to try and, like Sonny said, run it down their throats. But Ohio State definitely gets a nod in a lot of the skill positions there. But yeah, I'd say Notre Dame definitely better quarterback, better O-line.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's going to be fun. Like, I love it of being able to sit down. We got a big game Saturday night. We got Browns on Sunday. It's going to be a weekend full of a lot of football, which is great. Get to the Tipico Sportsbook app, download that, use the code BigPlay150 to get all your credits in, and we'll see. Are you nervous for Sunday, Ryan? Is there a confidence level? Are you nervous? Are you worried about the Browns?
I mean, yeah, I would say it's kind of impossible at this point to not have a slight worry creep in, but I was just sitting here when you were talking about the Titans, and I was just getting Vietnam flashbacks of Freddie Kitchens' era when the PTSD. Titans just came in and throttled us.
Yeah, the Titans they seem to be a team that always just creeps back up. Because then the other one was, remember the game that we were on the road and the Browns set the record for the largest road comeback in NFL history with Hoyer, I think Josh Gordon or Travis Benjamin or something. Remember that game? That was in Tennessee. But the Titans and the Browns always seem to have this like weird, like, again, it's like they just always seem to come up against one another somehow, some way. It's always kind of weird. And the Titans are a solid team. I think that's the other thing about when we look at this team, there's enough to be taken away where if we think that they're a good, if you beat the hell out of the Texans, I hope beat the hell out of the Titans. You beat the hell out of the Texans, you're not feeling real good about it. Titans, I think, are a good enough team that you can feel good about a win, but it's also, you got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to be on your marks. You got to be going. And if I hear Deshaun Watson trying to say, like, we're still getting things figured out, get it figured out. I'm sorry. I get it figured out. Like, it needs to, and Deshaun Watson needs to play to a level. When we had Jack Duffin on, he mentioned this. I completely agree with what Jack had to say. I really look at it as the rust factor has got to be something that I push to the side. That's got to be something that gets figured out. That has to be something that I look at and I say, you're enough games into the season. You are at a point where I need to see you be crisp and sharp on everything that you do. These receivers are brand new. These are things that you shouldn't be having a problem. Okay, you're 2 games in the season. You want to look at it from that same. Sean Watson was in this offense all offseason. And frankly, Ryan, I'm sick of hearing it. I am sick of hearing the rust thing because that's all I got shoved down my throat about it. And that's not that's not something that really when is that going to end? When is that something that's going to not be the excuse? It's the excuse. It's the ultimate excuse, and I'm sick of hearing it. And there is a point where no matter what, at this right now, going into the 3rd game of the season, if you want to keep using that, I guess you have some ground to stand on. But that ground is slowly starting to fall away by the day. Because what am I going to do? Stand here in the 7th or 8th game of the season going, he's still a little rusty. No. And I'll tell you what. I will make the proclamation right here. This is the last game that's acceptable. This is the last game that I will accept the Deshaun Watson rust factor. Some people have already jettisoned that away. I'm with you. But to hear him kind of mention it, this is the last one. This is truly the last game when it comes to that. I hope it gets it done. I hope that there's a world that this all gets figured out. And Sunday's a good game for that. You should be able to throw. Weather looks like it's going to be just fine in Peachy. We've had some beautiful weather lately. There are no excuses. And I just hope for everybody's sanity that they get a nice 28-14 win. We beat them 24-10, something like that, just to ease everything on out. But I'm going to be watching. Keys for Sunday coming up right now. Number 1, what will the run game look like? Are they going to be able to establish that with Jerome Ford? And specifically when it comes to the run game, a little more of the outside type of zone things. A little more to, are they getting to the edge with Jerome Ford? His number 1 trait is speed. His number 1 trait is something that he can get to the edge a little bit quicker than Nick Chubb. So I'm going to be watching that very much. Number 2 really is number 1, but it's Deshaun Watson. Accuracy on his passes. You had we brought the graphic up earlier on. 55% completion percentage is not going to get it done in any sense of any game ever in the NFL. You need to have that up if you want to go again to figuring out the receivers, even just the catchable passes, which we had that alarming stat earlier in the week from Jake Trotter. Over a quarter of Deshaun Watson's passes as soon as they leave his hands are uncatchable. That needs to change. Getting on the same page. Kevin Stefanski's play calling. Offensively, should be able to dominate, should be able to push around. Defensively, this will be your toughest test of Derrick Henry. On the ground, anyway. Not through the air. Joe Burrow should have been that, but the weather kind of helped nix that a little bit. You got to stop Derrick Henry, and I do think that that's something with the Titans. When you slow him down, go ahead. If Ryan Tannehill's going to beat us on Sunday, fine. Let Ryan Tannehill beat us on Sunday. I don't think it's going to happen. Browns get a win. Buckeyes get a win. It's going to be a great weekend. Kicks off some awesome high school football tonight as well. So if you're heading out to the game, good luck to your squad. Enjoy the hell out of it. Late night Sunday or late night Saturday with Ohio State. Regular game on Sunday. I have not said this enough, folks. We have a tailgate Sunday. Come down to Burke. We have a tailgate. We'll be here. We've got giveaways. We've got some shows lined up. It's going to be awesome. So if you're looking for a place to tailgate and hang out with us, come on down Sunday. Burke Lakefront. We'll be partying all day Sunday, getting ready for what will be, I know, a big Browns victory. So enjoy it. Thanks very much to Jack Duffin for joining us today. Also, a huge thanks going out to Sonny Gupta joining us every Friday for our picks. Get to Tipico, Big Play 150. It's a hell of a weekend. Enjoy it. And we'll talk to everybody on Monday, 9 a.m. We'll be on Sunday, too, for the pregame show as well. So catch us there. We'll talk to you Monday. For Ryan, I'm Matt. It's always a little sweeter on Fridays. Take it easy.